Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Curious History of the Heart, a Cultural and Scientific Journey, by Vincent M. Figueredo, narrated by Malcolm Hillgartner. Introduction. King Charles I of England reached forward and placed his 3 fingers and thumb into the gaping hole in the young nobleman's left chest. The king gently touched this man's beating heart. "Does it hurt?" he asked. "Not at all," said the young man. It was 1641 CE, and Charles had heard of this miracle from his personal physician, William Harvey, who was the first to scientifically demonstrate the heart's role in the circulation of blood throughout the body. With great interest the king had asked if he could meet this young man, who was the 19-year-old son of the Viscount of Montgomery in Ireland. At age 10, the boy fell from a stumbling horse onto a jutting rock, which pierced and broke multiple ribs on his left side. The wound abscessed and healed, leaving a hole in the boy's left chest. 9 years later, alive and well, the now famous nobleman had just returned to London after traveling the European continent to sell out crowds who wanted to witness a beating heart in a living person. After Harvey examined the young man with the king, he wrote, "I have handled the heart and ventricle in their own pulsations in a young and sprightly nobleman without offence to him, wherefore I conclude that the heart is deprived of the sense of feeling." It is a great irony that the heart, which throughout history has been placed at the center of human feeling, is in fact numb to physical touch. From the time humans first recorded their thoughts, most civilizations believed that the heart, not the brain, was the most important organ in the body. Surely ancient humans knew that the beating in their chest signified life, beating harder and faster with fear or desire, and upon death, beating no more. For thousands of years, the Egyptians, Greeks, Chinese, and Teotihuacans of Mesoamerica elevated the heart to the position held today by the brain, as the seat of the soul, emotions, thoughts, and intelligence. Throughout history, many societies thought it was through their heart that a person connected with God, and God measured a person's chances of eternal heavenly bliss based on the virtues and sins of one's life recorded in the walls of the heart. Harvey's observation in 1641 CE that the heart acted as a circulation pump had ramifications for centuries to come. Scientists and physicians changed their beliefs about the heart, and the brain slowly took over as the director and sole repository of emotions and consciousness. Today, most of us believe that our brain controls our body, including the function of the heart. The heart, we've been taught, is just a pump pushing blood around the body through a circulatory system. Because we have come to accept the heart as nothing more than a pump, we have decided that it is morally sound to transplant the heart of one person into another. But every once in a while a case arises like that of Claire Sylvia. A former professional dancer, she underwent a heart-lung transplant, receiving a heart from 18-year-old Tim Lamarande, who died in a motorcycle accident. After her heart transplantation, friends remarked that Claire started walking like a man. She began craving beer and chicken nuggets, which she detested prior to her transplant. Tim's family said these were his behaviors. They were not surprised that she was acting this way, because she now had Tim's heart inside her. This story was the subject of the 2013 movie Heart of a Stranger, starring Jane Seymour. But multiple accounts of inheriting the personality traits of a donor after heart transplantation have been recorded. These stories make us wonder whether the heart is just a mechanical pump, or whether emotional parts of us are contained in it and travel with it. As a cardiologist, I regularly encounter cases in which the emotional and physiological heart show a profound connection. I have witnessed heart attacks after the sudden loss of a loved one, when the patient had no prior heart disease. Other patients experienced a heart attack or sudden death after their team lost a Super Bowl or World Cup penalty shootout. I have frequently witnessed lifelong couples dying within months of each other. Despite these many cases, and the millennia-old association of the heart with emotions, modern medicine seems to have dismissed this intimate connection. In this book I recount the history, explaining how this happened, and reveal how modern science is now suggesting that what we've lost to history should be reconsidered. Medical science recently has found that the heart may hold feelings and, in fact, is part of a two-way heart-brain connection. Studies suggest that the heart directs the brain as much as the brain directs the heart. New research in this area may be the beginning of a scientific shift, aligning historic and modern cultural views of the heart. The heart may no longer be viewed merely as a pump. Rather, the heart may again be recognized as part of the emotional vitality that ensures our mental, spiritual, and physical health. The heart is the first organ to react to signals from the brain. Think fight or flight. When a mountain lion appears on your walk in the woods, the brain activates the sympathetic nervous system, triggering an acute response that prepares the body to stand and fight or to flee. The brain tells the heart to immediately beat faster and stronger, pushing oxygenated blood to the body's muscles to prepare them to move. The brain is also first to receive signals from the heart. If that weren't the case, we might pass out when we quickly stand. The heart and its great vessels alert the brain that blood volume and pressure are dropping, and the brain responds by activating blood vessels to constrict to prevent blood from pooling in the legs. The emotions we register in our brain reverberate in our heart. The resulting physical sensations of seeing a new love, blushing, warmth, racing pulse, are manifestations of the heart's response. It is this interdependence, this heart-brain connection, that is so vital to our health. It's what has led humans for thousands of years to place their emotions, reasoning, and very soul in this hot-pumping organ that signifies we're alive. The ancient Chinese and Indians stressed that a happy heart meant a happy body and a long, healthy life. The brain was seen as a massive, cold, gray pudding, nothing more than a phlegm-producing organ, and the ancient Egyptians pulled it out through the nose with a hook during the embalming process. Today, the brain has taken over as the home of our consciousness, but the heart continues to play a central role in our cultural iconography. You only have to see the emojis on your phone in a text from your love, or the heart emblem on a car bumper sticker, to realize the important role the heart now plays in our lives, at least symbolically. The heart remains a symbol of romance and love, and more recently the heart ideograph has become familiar to us as a sign of health and life. We still say emotionally, "I love you with all my heart," "You have touched my heart," and "She broke my heart." We declare, "He's heartless." We beg others to please have a heart. "She speaks from the heart" connotes sincerity and honesty. A change of heart implies reconciliation or repentance. Referring to our intelligence, we memorize it by heart. What part of the body do we point to when we say, "me"? Yet modern medicine has rejected the heart as the repository of our soul, intelligence, and feelings. We have mostly forgotten the place of the heart in our past, even though this important role remains pervasive in our inherited cultural icons, poetry, and art. Despite advances in medicine, 1 out of 3 of us will die from heart disease worldwide. More of us will die of cardiovascular disease than from all cancers combined. Heart disease kills 10 times more women than breast cancer. In the United States, someone dies of a heart attack every 40 seconds. Why are 3 of the biggest drivers of our current health crisis, heart disease, depression, and stress, not considered and treated in a more connected way? More than any other area of medicine, cardiology was at the forefront of innovation in the 20th century, and is even more so in the 21st century. The 20th century saw development of coronary artery bypass surgery, catheter-based coronary balloon angioplasty and stents, pacemakers and defibrillators, heart assist devices, and heart transplants. Preventive health measures directed at cardiac risk factors such as smoking, high blood pressure, and cholesterol — half of Americans currently have at least one of these cardiac risk factors — have helped to decrease deaths due to heart disease. As a result, the incidence of cardiovascular disease has decreased significantly since the 1960s, yet it remains the #1 killer of us all. I believe that part of the answer to improving our collective heart health lies in a better understanding of the cultural and scientific history of the heart, and how it became separated from and dominated by the brain. Today the heart is a replaceable organ. If a donor heart is not immediately available, a mechanical pump can be implanted into the chest to replace the heart's function while the patient with a failing heart waits. Scientists are now looking at growing a whole new three-dimensional heart from one's own cells to replace the failing heart. Ongoing studies are investigating placing the heart of another animal, such as a pig, into a human because of the shortage of available donor human hearts. And soon gene-informed personalized medicine will enable each of us to be assessed and treated for heart disease based on our unique genetic risks. I have spent most of my life studying and caring for hearts. This compelled me to take a panoptic look at the meaning of the heart over the whole of human history. I explored how the battle between the heart and the brain has led to our current cultural and scientific understanding of the heart-brain connection. In this book, I trace the evolution of our understanding of the heart from the dawn of human civilization 20,000 years ago to today. I examine how our beliefs about the purpose of the heart have evolved, and how that affects our understanding of what life forces it contains. We have always considered our heart to be at the center of our body. The center of the body is actually below our belly button near our sacrum. But what do we believe the heart is central to? I looked back to see what our ancestors thought of this wondrous organ. The heart has been revered, regaled, misunderstood, and revealed through the ages. Throughout history, the heart has played an important role for the poet, the philosopher, and the physician. The heart has meant different things in different cultures, from prehistoric humans through ancient societies, the Dark Ages, the Renaissance, and into modern times. I chronologically examine how the king of the organs became dismissed as a mere mechanistic blood pump, subservient to the brain, even as it remained central to our daily lives as a symbol of love and health. As a physician fascinated with this extraordinary organ, I include a section on how the heart works and heart diseases. In addition, I discuss advancements in heart therapies in modern times and what the future may hold. What we are now learning shows that our ancient ancestors weren't so wrong about the heart after all. I have poured my heart and soul into this book. I hope you find this curious history of the heart to be as fascinating as I have. Part 1. The Ancient Heart. Chapter 1. The Heart Means Life. In 1908, archaeologists discovered a painting of a mammoth with what looks like a red heart drawn on its chest on the wall of El Pindal Cave in Asturias, Spain. Drawn by the Magdalenian people during the Upper Paleolithic, the painting dates from 14,000 to 20,000 years ago. The ancient artist may have known that the best way to kill an animal was to hit it through this red beating organ. The image may have been painted as a target. By 12,000 years ago, when humans began to settle into villages, towns, and city-states, they probably already believed that the heart was the most important organ in their body, the reason they were alive. I touch his heart, but it does not beat at all. Epic of Gilgamesh, Tablet 8, 2600 BCE. Gilgamesh, the hero king of the ancient Mesopotamian Epic of Gilgamesh, the oldest written story known to exist, uttered this lament on the death of his friend Enkidu. Gilgamesh, king of Uruk, a city-state in ancient Mesopotamia, and Enkidu were initially enemies, but they grew to respect each other and eventually became best friends. After meeting Enkidu, Gilgamesh became a better king to his people because he understood them better. Enkidu was killed by the gods in revenge for helping Gilgamesh slay the divine bull sent by the goddess Ishtar to destroy Gilgamesh for rejecting her salacious advances. Gilgamesh tries to revive his friend, only to find his heart beats no more. Written in what is now modern Iraq in Sumerian cuneiform around 2600 BCE, this passage may be the earliest reference to pulse-taking. More than 4,600 years ago, Humans understood that our hearts beat, and the pulsations could be felt throughout the body. After killing the divine bull, Gilgamesh and Enkidu cut out its heart as an oblation to the sun god Shamash, the first heart sacrifice ever recorded. As in many ancient societies, the heart occupied an important place in Sumerian culture. It was the primary organ of life in the body, and the choice sacrifice to appease the gods. In 1849, Sumerian medical tablets from as early as 2400 BCE were discovered in the ancient Assyrian cities of Assur and Nineveh. Most of these medical texts came from the royal library of Ashurbanipal, 600s BCE. Ashurbanipal was considered the last great king of Assyria. The Epic of Gilgamesh was found in his library. Mesopotamians knew little about anatomy and physiology because they were restricted by religious taboo from performing human dissection. Their approach to diseases and death were spiritual rather than physiological or anatomical. The heart was believed to be the location of intellect, the liver of affectivity, the stomach of cunning, and the uterus of compassion. There is no mention of the brain in their medical literature. Neurological and psychiatric disorders such as epilepsy, strokes, depression, and anxiety were believed to be caused by angry gods and demons attacking the unfortunate person, and were dealt with by religious healers from the temples. These healers' duties mostly consisted of exorcisms, addressing the spirit whose malevolent activities were causing the patient's symptoms. The cuneiform texts suggest healers did observe clinical symptoms and gave herbal medicines, such as to relieve pain. Sumerian healers also felt patients' pulses to assess their health. Enkidu had no pulse, and therefore no life. Other civilizations advancing elsewhere simultaneously, such as the Egyptians and Chinese, developed their own ideas about the purpose and importance of the heart. All of these ancient civilizations agreed on one thing: the beating heart meant life. O my heart, which I had from my mother, O my heart, which I had upon earth, do not rise up against me as a witness in the presence of the Lord of things. Do not speak against me concerning what I have done. Do not bring up anything against me in the presence of the great God, Lord of the West. An Egyptian in 2500 BCE believed that Anubis, the god of the dead, the jackal-headed god, as jackals hung around cemeteries, would take the person who died into Duat, the underworld. The person was presented to Osiris, god of the underworld and afterlife, and to a tribunal of 43 deities in the hall of Ma'at, goddess of justice. There the person's heart was weighed on the scale of justice against the feather of Ma'at, an ostrich feather that represented truth. If the heart was lighter or equal to the weight of the feather, the person had led a virtuous life, and Osiris escorted the person to the field of reeds, a heavenly paradise. If the heart weighed more than the feather, the goddess Amit, part crocodile, lion, and hippopotamus, ate their heart, and the person's soul vanished from existence. Ancient Egyptians believed the heart was witness to everything people did in life, good or bad. Because many did not lead the most virtuous life, they were worried that their heart might testify against them. The heart could become weighted down with sin. To prevent the heart from testifying against them, at death a heart scarab would be wrapped within the bandages on their chest when the body was prepared for mummification. The inscription on the scarab comes from chapter 30 of the Book of the Dead, the quote at the beginning of this section. The heart was the source of life and being, and ancient Egyptians treated it with reverence during embalming rituals. It was important that the heart remain within the body as it traveled to the underworld to be judged by Osiris. The heart was the only organ to be replaced in the body after embalming. The other chest and abdominal organs were placed in jars near the mummy, but the brain was considered worthless, doing nothing more than passing mucus to the nose. The ancient Egyptian word for brain roughly translates to skull offal. So while the heart was carefully preserved and placed back in the body, the brain was scraped out of the skull with an iron hook through the nose and discarded. It is unclear where the practice of medicine began. Some believe in ancient Egypt, others in ancient Mesopotamia. Papyri from as long ago as 1950 BCE suggest that Egyptians were practicing medicine and studying the heart more than 4,000 years ago. The first physical descriptions of the heart and how it functions are found in 3 Egyptian medical papyri: the Edwin Smith Papyrus, circa 1500 BCE, the world's first surgical text; the Ebers Papyrus, circa 1550 BCE, and the Bruch Papyrus, circa 1350 BCE. These ancient Egyptian medical texts are dated from a later period than Mesopotamian medical cuneiform tablets, circa 2400 BCE. However, these Egyptian papyri are believed to be copies of much older texts from as early as 2700 BCE, possibly from the writings of Imhotep, a high priest and physician of the Old Kingdom. Imhotep, chancellor to the pharaoh Djoser, was the architect of the Djoser step pyramid and may have been the first in history to use stone columns to support a building. He was the chief physician to Djoser. Imhotep apparently wrote extensively on architecture and medicine. It is thought that he is the author of the material upon which the later medical papyri are based, especially the Smith Papyrus. He was deified as the Egyptian god of medicine and healing 2,000 years after his death, one of the few non-royal Egyptians to become a god. Because the Egyptians practiced embalming procedures for mummification, it makes sense that they had an intimate knowledge of anatomy. Ancient Egyptian doctors believed that the heart gave rise to vessels that could be distally palpated. In the Ebers Papyrus, it is written that the heart speaks out of every limb. From the heart arise the vessels which go to the whole body. If the physician lay the hands or his fingers to the head, to the back of the head, to the hands, to the place of the stomach, to the arms or to the feet, then he examines the heart, because all of his limbs possess its vessels, that is, the heart speaks out of the vessels of every limb. If the heart trembles, has little power and sinks, the disease is advancing. For ancient Egyptians, the heart was the center of the body, with vessels attached to every part. When a person fainted, they observed that the pulse temporarily disappeared. They described a weak pulse with displacement of the heart impulse on the chest to the left of its usual position, what we now recognize as a weak, enlarged heart consistent with congestive heart failure. Excessive salivation was called flooding of the heart, a possible description of a person in acute heart failure with excessive pink, blood-tinged, frothy sputum. In the Ebers Papyrus, ancient Egyptians reported that pains in the arm and the breast on the side of the heart suggested that death was approaching. This is a classic description of a heart attack. Ancient Egyptians ascribed intellect to the heart, commanding all other organs. The heart was necessary to keep the body working, to keep it alive, as explained in the Ebers Papyrus. It is the fact that the heart and tongue rule over the limbs, according to the doctrine that the heart is in each body and the tongue in each mouth of all gods, men, and beasts, inasmuch as the heart thinks whatsoever it will, and the tongue commands all that it wills. The seeing of the eyes, the hearing of the ears, the breathing of the nose, they bring tidings to the heart. It is the heart that brings into being each act of intelligence, and the tongue it is which repeats what is thought by the heart. And so all works are performed, and all handiwork, the doing of the hands, the going of the feet, the movement of all the limbs, according to its command. At the center of their being, ancient Egyptians believed the heart moved not only blood, but air, tears, saliva, mucus, urine, and semen through the body by a system of channels. The heart sustained life and meant life. Thus, ancient Mesopotamians and Egyptians had decided the heart was the most important organ in the body. Its beating meant life. It had to remain with the body to go to the afterlife. Meanwhile, ancient Chinese were also studying the body. They came to believe that the heart ruled the body as a king. For ancient Chinese, the heart was the king of all organs. All other organs sacrificed for the heart. They gave their energy to help the heart maintain its balance. The ruling heart was responsible for maintaining internal peace and harmony through the entire body. The heart was the force responsible for physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Based on his study of the ancient medical book Huangdi Neijing from 2600 BCE, Guangzhong, in his Taoist classic Guangji, wrote prior to the 3rd century BCE, "The heart is the emperor of the human body. Its subordinate officers are in charge of the 9 orifices, 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 1 mouth, 1 urethra, 1 anus, and their related functions. As long as the heart remains on its rightful path, the 9 orifices will follow along and function properly. If the heart's desires become abundant, however, the eyes will lose their sense of color, and the ears will lose their sense of sound." 47 centuries ago, Huangdi Neijing, the Yellow Emperor's classic of medicine, was written by the Chinese Emperor Huangdi. This book records discussions between the emperor and his physician, on which Huangdi questions him about the nature of health, disease, and treatment. Expanding on Huangdi's belief that the heart rules the 5 organ networks, scholars from the court of Luan, king of Huainan, in the 2nd century BCE, wrote in the Taoist classic Huainanzi, "The heart is the ruler of the 5 organ networks. It commands the movements of the 4 extremities. It circulates the qi, life energy, and the blood. It roams the realms of the material and the immaterial, and it is in tune with the gateways of every action. Therefore, coveting to govern the flow of energy on earth without possessing a heart would be like aspiring to tune gongs and drums without ears, or like trying to read a piece of fancy literature without eyes." Huangdi Neijing was viewed as the most important text of ancient Chinese medicine, and it has remained a reference work for practitioners of traditional Chinese medicine well into the modern era. This early medical text was concurrent with Sumerian medical tablets, 2400 BCE, and the Egyptian physician Imhotep, 2700 BCE. All 3 cultures viewed the heart as the most important organ in the body, the ruler of the body, and determinant of life. During the Ming Dynasty, in 1570 CE, Li Yuhong wrote, "The ancient book of definitions, Huangdi Neijing, refers to the heart as the ruler of the human body, the seat of consciousness and intelligence. If we decide to nourish this crucial element in our daily practice, then our lives will be long, healthy, and secure. If the ruler's vision becomes distracted and unclear, however, the path will become congested, and severe harm to the material body will result. If we lead lives that are centered around distracting thoughts and activities, harmful consequences will result." Another example of the lasting effect of Huangdi Neijing on the Chinese view of the heart's life importance can be seen in the writings of Li Ting in 1575 CE. "The heart is the master of the body and the emperor of the organ networks. There is the structural heart made from blood and flesh. It has the shape of a closed lotus flower and is situated underneath the lung and above the liver. And there is the luminous heart of spirit which generates qi and blood, and thus is the root of life." 4,000 years before William Harvey discovered the circulatory system, it seems that Chinese physicians understood blood circulation. Passages from the Huangdi Neijing include, "All blood is under the control of the heart. The blood flows continuously in a circle and never stops," and "The blood, qi, flows, but continuously like the current of the river, or the sun and moon in their orbits. It may be compared to a circle without beginning or end." For ancient Chinese, the heart ruled the body's organs. It was the root of life, generating spirit and blood to nourish the body. A happy heart meant a healthy life. The brain was nothing more than nourishing marrow, like bone marrow. What we now accept as functions of the brain were ascribed to the 5 Zhang organs. From the heart, liver, spleen, lung, and kidney arose happiness, anger, deep thinking, melancholy, and fear, respectively. Like the ancient Chinese, ancient Indians also believed the heart was the seat of life and consciousness. Ayurvedic medicine, one of the world's oldest holistic, whole-body healing systems, described the heart as the prime mover of prana, or life force. Ayurveda is based on the belief that one's health depends on a balance between mind, body, and spirit. The ancient writings on Ayurvedic medicine come from the early Vedic era in India, around 1600 BCE. Ayurvedic medical knowledge was documented.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?